Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Cover to Cover. You're here with Mo,
Andrea,
and Morgan.
Today, we really want to talk about Nabokov's favorite word. It's mauve, quantifying punctuation, landscapes made from books, cuss words in literature, and so much more. But first, we would really like to acknowledge that today is Book Lovers Day. Yay!
Yay!
Fellow book lovers everywhere are celebrating their love of books and sharing their day with the world through the hashtag Book Lovers Day.
So, what are you guys going to be doing to celebrate today? You could visit your local library, go buy a new book, or make some serious headway on your currently reading list. Either way, let us know in the comments and add the hashtag Book Lovers Day. So, what are you guys doing to celebrate?
I'm going to do that third thing you said where I make some serious headway on the books that I have been reading for far too long. So I'm thinking about going home and not being a productive adult and just like putting on pajamas and reading.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Sounds good, yeah.
I know.
I recently bought a chair to put on my balcony outside, and so I love sitting out there when it's not too hot, when the sun is setting, with my dogs, reading my book. So maybe when I do that today, I'll take a picture and I will put the hashtag on there and let everyone see.
Yay, so we're all finding our coziest spots to read today.
So you're going to go just like underneath your
under
bed?
things.
Cool. Well, we'd also like to highlight a book that we think is amusing that maybe you guys could check out today. It's one that helps us quantify words, phrases, punctuation, and other idiosyncrasies from literature.
Analytical author Ben Blatt has written a book called Nabokov's Favorite Word is Mauve, what the numbers reveal about the classics, bestsellers, and our own writing. He's taking advantage of the vast digitization of literature that exists today, allowing him to run statistical analysis across the text. The book comes with some amusing and interesting statistics to give us room to ponder our own writing habits. Through it, we can examine James Joyce's use of exclamation points, 1,105 exclamation points per 100,000 words. The most common words appearing in erotica novels written by native New Yorkers, which include subway, popsicle, Senator, sin, and shrugs, among others, as well as other insights such as male authors' tendency to write "she interrupted" far more than "he interrupted."
Ooh, feel like that last one's really telling.
Yeah, that one kind of hits home. I think with like technology now, it's so crazy, all of these things that you can see, where you can really see gender bias and racism and all of that, and our tendencies and the mental molds that we have in this nation. And so I think that's huge, so we can break that.
You know, when I write, I use an application called Grammarly, and it will tell me, you've repeated this word way too many times.
Oh.
Maybe authors should do that.
Maybe they should.
So they don't use the same word over and over and over.
I like that thing about James Joyce's use of exclamation points because I am guilty of being overexcited about everything, especially when I'm writing. So perhaps I need to download that and specifically ask it to tell me to like tone it down.
I know, I need Grammarly on like my text messages because I do the same thing. I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, see you later. Okay, cool, what are you wearing?
It's like you've used far too many emojis in the last 4 text messages.
Yeah, but the fact about what men authors write and what female authors write, that is very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. We can see now. I was listening on NPR about in our country, in movies, there have been, like, they can quantify how many lesbian characters have been killed off and or brutally murdered in the past couple years. So quantifying this information is so important.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It shows us our patterns and our habits, too, so that if we want to, we could try to stay away from
Yes.
that.
So I wonder if it's because that sells. Like, all right, you've seen this movie, it was successful, so we're going to replicate that kind of story, and then so it's done over and over and over until it quits selling. Or
That kind of makes sense.
if it says something about people who are writing and producing this stuff.
Probably both.
I don't know. This is a
Very telling either way.
Yeah, this is a super interesting book. I can't wait to see what else is discovered in his statistical analysis.
Yeah, I love it. So let us know in the comments if you guys have heard of this book or what are some statistics you're interested in seeing, because the graphs are really fun to look at.
Yeah.
And this concept of statistically quantifying our words and phrases in literature, it really does give us a lot to think about. And some other authors are thinking about what literature might look like with the complete absence of words entirely.
Artist Nicolas Rougeau, who we've talked about previously for his literary constellation projects, has another impressive art project that we are drawn to, Between the Words. He has created literary posters displaying text from cover to cover, Only one caveat without any of the words. We are left with continuous strands of punctuation to identify our favorite books by. The punctuation swirls around a classic image from the book at hand and is a beautiful masterpiece to pair with your favorite bookshelves.
So that's kind of just one other way to look at an author's use of punctuation.
Yeah.
So we could look at James Joyce's and see how many exclamation points there are, which I think is pretty cool.
I know, if there's like a book about someone like severely fighting it, it's like, quote, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point, quote.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
Looks like there's a lot of ellipses throughout. So if you guys haven't checked that out, definitely do that. And speaking of decorating our bookshelves, we here at Cover to Cover are obviously reading fanatics, and we know that you guys are too. So as reading fanatics, we all inevitably find ourselves in a place where reading is just not enough, and we turn to book-adjacent hobbies.
While readers can find joy in hobbies such as collecting books or joining book clubs, today we want to pay homage to a special breed of people with book-adjacent hobbies, sculptors.
An author thinks of a page as a landscape to craft a world within, and a sculptor thinks of the whole book as a landscape to craft a world out of. While there are many amazing works to talk about, we wanted to highlight one of our favorite artists, Guy Laramie, who turns books into beautiful landscapes. Laramie is a special kind of sculptor who transforms a book into a literal landscape for us to look upon. He uses the pages of the book to give life and texture to earth. He has created 2 separate series, Biblios and The Great Wall. So, guys, if you want to check out more of his images of his masterpieces, you can grab them online.
They're so neat. So we were just talking about this cool art series, and the way that he masterfully cuts into the book it's really neat, and he uses the texture of the pages to become the layers of a cave wall or a mountain, and then of course he adds other things in, but it's really neat. And as sad as it is to see a book be kind of defiled and cut up, at least this is a really beautiful way to do it, right?
I think one of my little dogs is trying to become one because I walk in and one of my books I'm reading has been chewed up into pieces. I was like, why I got a hold of it?
You should put it on Etsy.
Yeah, maybe he was just trying to make me a piece of art. So
yeah, he's like, I love this book!
Sorry to my friend Nicholas Boothman, who I was reading your book.
Oh, yikes.
Wyatt chewed some of it up.
That's funny. I love that.
Well, let us know in the comments what you think about these book sculptures, or if you have any other series centered around books that we should check out. Well, right now we're going to take a quick break, but when we get back, we're going to discuss the changing landscape of language in literature. So we'll be right back.
Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, you guys. We are at GoReadOfficial. You guys can tell us everything that you're talking about. #BookLoversDay. All right, so you guys know, we all know how important language is and how it can make or break our sentiments and our stories. But we need to ask the question, have we gotten more vulgar with time, and does it really matter?
There's a story circulating right now confronting the idea that in literature, our vocabulary is becoming more and more loose as time comes on. Due to the increasing acceptance of individualistic speech, Jean Twenge, a psychology professor at San Diego State University, has recently published a study she completed detailing the increasing trend of curse words in our lives, and in literature and other media platforms. In 1972, comedian George Carlin performed a now famous skit in which he discusses the 7 words you can never say on television. Twenge used her colleagues' use this as a basis and analyzed tens of thousands of texts from 1950 to 2008. They were searching these texts for the 7 words laid out by George Carlin.
The research showed that these 7 risque words were used 28 times more often in the mid-2000s than in the early 1950s. Many of the words can be said on TV and are certainly gaining prevalence in literature.
So I think it's really interesting because we were talking about this before too. There's this shifting trend of language, which makes sense with an evolving culture. Of course, the way that we use language changes and our acceptability of it changes. But There's a lot of finger pointing going on about whose fault this is.
So whose fault is it?
I think it's a great question, and I think it's the fault of evolution of our culture. I don't think it's any one person's fault, but people are blaming millennials, but I know that you think something different.
It's all of your fault. All you millennials out there, I'm just blaming you for everything because I am not one of you, so it's your fault.
That's the trend for sure.
No, but think about it. Who is producing this stuff? Baby boomers.
Mm-hmm.
Who's influencing their millennial kids? Baby boomers.
What she said.
Yeah, I mean, I think about, I've gone back and watched some old shows. I haven't gone back and read some older books that aren't classic, but I noticed that some of the things on there, I just see the trend of what has happened, and I'm just kind of shocked by it because in your day-to-day life, you don't notice it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But there's been other studies about how in the U.S. we, our shows and probably our books too are more violent than other countries.
Oh, absolutely.
And so people say that's a correlation between violence in the U.S.
And definitely more violent than books from, say, the 1950s, right? We've come a long way with our content, so.
Yeah, for sure. But I don't think it's a bad thing. I mean, the thing is, you can't please everyone, you know? And so there are going to be some people who are upset about curse words and some of this graphic content in books, but then there are also going to be the people who are thanking the artists for letting their art flow freely and not holding back, you know?
I don't know. I just don't know. Those who I work with know that I rarely cuss, and when I do, I'm either trying to be funny or trying to make a statement. Just at some point in my life, I decided I didn't want any bad language to come out of my mouth, any unwholesome talk to come out of my mouth, and so it's when I'm around other people who cuss, I notice that I cuss more, and I just don't know how I feel about that.
That's a really interesting way to phrase it too, is that you use it to be funny. So cuss words or these bad words used to be this really, really negative thing, but more and more prevalently in our culture, they're used as comedic effect or just to express something as a joke or just generally in life. It doesn't have to be a negative thing. And people who work with me know that I am the opposite of that. But it's just really interesting to see just the different choices that we get to make and how it affects us when we're around other people. But I don't know, it's really up to you. If you're comfortable with it, great. If you're not, that's fine too, you know?
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be interesting to see where art turns in the next couple decades because millennials they're being called like the new Shakespeares because I mean we're making so many new words.
Yeah.
And so we're also taking curse words and we're forming them into something different as well. So
I wonder how much more graphic novels are going to get.
Ooh, I guess we're gonna have
Yeah.
to see.
I don't know. I mean, I like modern fiction. Yeah, it does contain a lot of cuss words, and I always kind of feel uncomfortable recommending certain books to people. But then you also lose a great book. So I mean, if you're going to pick up a Neil Gaiman book, like Neil Gaiman is an amazing author, you know. So do you recommend that book for them to like experience Neil Gaiman, or do you shy away because it has some graphic content?
Yeah, it's tough. I guess you have to know your audience. Well, and whether or not we agree with the language choices in literature is kind of irrelevant. We just really need to have access to those books and all kinds of books. And sometimes getting access to books can be really difficult, much more difficult than we'd like. And the same can be said about scholarly works.
Open access refers to the availability of scholarly works and studies in the academic world. Now more than ever, papers are being made available as free resources for other researchers. And this is huge for academia. Impact Story is a nonprofit that has generated a new web extension for those doing research online. Unpaywall helps users find open access documents and literature for their studies. This type of open access is reminiscent of Project Gutenberg, which is an online platform that gives you access to over 54,000 free books. So how important is it to you to have access to free literature?
I think it's really important, especially for students, because if you want to assign things, especially in college, because everything gets so expensive, if you want to assign readings to people, if they can get that for free, that's amazing. So great.
Not just college, I mean, starting from a young age, think about illiteracy and not having access to books, even technology illiteracy. I mean, we just need to give access to knowledge. Knowledge is power.
Yeah. I like it because when I've done research in the past, let's say I'm doing something on some history project and I want to read Josephus, and I have all of his complete work sitting on my shelf, but I love being able to go online and like do my keyword search to find exactly what I need. So I love that there's free stuff online. I will admit, guys, I am cheap and I don't want to pay for anything. Yeah. I'm not going to lie. I will try to find a book for free before I buy it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I mean,
sorry, authors, but I'm on a budget. That's it.
I just think access is important because, not to be mean, but sometimes I see those like Facebook comments online and I'm like, oh, like let me just send you books and like let me just like come to my library. I'll give you whatever for free, but let me just help you like study life and how to be proper and be smart.
I'm down for all those things.
But unfortunately, even though it's there, the truth is most people probably won't even read it, look at it, unless they're doing research. So that's the part we need to change.
Yes. So let's find more ways to encourage people to read and make sure access is not a problem. Share Project Gutenberg with any people you know who use that as an excuse. Great, here's 54,000 free books to choose from. Get to reading. Well, and one author that we know who wants to make sure that we have additional materials and access to further information is author Dr. Simon White.
White is in the midst of writing a book that sheds some light on witchcraft and magic in 19th century literature. He wants to reevaluate that mindset that authors and readers were coming from and fill in the gap in our knowledge and understanding of it. For all of those 19th century literature fans, White has also created a forum to work in tandem with his writings. The forum will be a place for discussion, sharing of information, and questions and answers. White's book will focus on authors such as James Hogg and others who have included many elements of witchcraft and magic in their novels. For all of those interested in tracking the evolution of magic in writing and our changing opinions on it, check out this forum on historypin.org and White's forthcoming book.
Guys, we've come a long way with magic. We're in a very different place with magic and literature these days, don't you think?
Thanks, JK.
Thank you. It's just really interesting, though, to see in a lot of classic novels, a la The Scarlet Letter and books from that era, magic was thought of as this really, really bad thing, that if you were even thought of to be a witch, of course, there's many different trials and tribulations to discern it, and they pretty much all ended with you dying whether or not you were a witch.
Yeah, they were like, I have an inkling, die!
Yeah. So I'm really happy with the evolution of our magical philosophies, personally.
Yeah, because I totally would have thought you were a witch, and so for your sake, I'm glad. I'm just kidding.
Thank you.
Well, guys, let us know in the comments if you ever visit author book forums and add to them, and what you think about this conversation, and if it's helpful to you or not to ask questions and find answers online.
Yeah, and we just wanted to take a quick check-in on some trending topics that are happening right now.
Yep. This last week, we lost Robert Hardy, the actor who touched the lives of many and brought to life Prime Minister Cornelius Fudge from our beloved Harry Potter. J.K. Rowling and many others took to social media to pay tribute to him.
J.K. Rowling took to Twitter to say that she was so ever sad to hear about his death. He was such a talented actor, and everybody who worked with him on Potter loved him.
It's just so sad to see a lot of members of their cast have passed on throughout the years. Of course, they started coming out so long ago, and a lot of the actors are older, but it's really nice to see people paying homage to him and celebrating his life and his contribution to the Potter universe.
I mean, it definitely is a universe, and so many people have grown up with these characters, so for them to see these people passing, it's like family members passing.
Yeah. So we thank him for his service and his contribution to Potter. And you know, this is a really great adaptation, and when adaptations are beloved and done well, it's a very special and rare thing, and Hardy and other actors have been able to revel in their well-loved production, but right now we're experiencing the backlash from a not-so-great adaptation.
Last Friday, we did a top 10 list of book-to-movie adaptations that were coming out of the rest of this year, and Dark Tower was the first to launch over the weekend. And it's not going so well, y'all. On the popular movie rating site Rotten Tomatoes, Dark Tower is pulling in at 18%, and reviews are not looking good. I wonder how it must feel as an author to see your work being brought down. I mean, once it's up on the screen.
painful, I think. I feel like painful for Stephen King. But of course, he's just sitting around rolling in all of the dollar bills that he gets. So like maybe he doesn't care as much as I care for him.
Yeah.
Ugh, it's so bad. And I was kind of excited to see Dark Tower, and so now I won't be watching it, and I'm disappointed. And this just follows up on our expectations that they're never going to do a good job, and we should just set the bar really low because that's where they're going to aim.
And we have plenty of chances to do that because, like, there's the remake of It, and then we have
There's so
Pet
many,
Cemetery
yeah.
being rumored to come out. So
Yeah, Stephen King's hot this year.
But you can't always trust
King.
the reviews. There's one movie,
true.
I put it on Facebook. I'm at this movie with my husband, and someone in my family was like, I thought it was terrible. I walked out of there and I thought it was great. So
yeah.
who knows?
Maybe find out for yourself.
Find
I guess
out for
they
yourself.
put Stephen King on the map because he was totally a nobody before.
Well, reach out to us in the comments with any other questions, comments you'll have, and we'll be sure back to get to you. And let us know if you saw The Dark Tower, or if you're planning on seeing it, and what you think about those reviews, because we want to know.
Yeah.
Because I'm cheap, I don't want to waste my money on something that is terrible, so let us know. Also, don't forget, share this post and send us a message, and we will send you a free t-shirt. Yay! We have V-neck and crew neck options, so in your message to us, tell us your size, your style, and your mailing address, and we will get that out to you.
Yes, and thank you guys so much for joining us today. We hope that you have a great day. I'm Mo.
I'm Andrea.
And I'm Morgan.
And we will be back on Friday, August 11th, 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Central Time. So until then, keep reading, writing, and being awesome. I know we will.
Bye.
Bye.